Well, welcome to Transatlantic Wrestling Talk. I am your host, Andy, joined always by my brother Dale. How we doing, bro?
Hey, good morning, Andy. It's a Sunday, beautiful Sunday morning. A little misty here, but maybe it's going to carry over into the mood that we have here. So
Uh-huh.
last week you asked me, you said, "Hey, you know what? Let's do Over the Edge." And I said, "Oh, wasn't that? Oh, it was that pay-per-view." I had to scratch my head, and I said, "Ugh." And it is the anniversary, and it's actually kind of fitting because what just happened on Dynamite, it was the inaugural tournament, or let's just say inaugural cash grab. I'll get to that later on Owen Hart and the tournament over there, which hopefully will bring some good
Mm.
moments. But I will say this, man. Looking at this pay per view in a whole, this was weird, dude. This was weird.
It's eerie, wasn't it, to watch back? I was like that. I was like watching it back, and I was like, "Whoa, this is a bit eerie." Like,
Yeah, it's I'm going through it, and like the matches, you could just tell the demeanor was so weird throughout, like at a certain point, and you'll know it as soon as you see some people come out. I mean, we'll get to it, but just to really go into that whole, I have a question for you. Okay. Is a qualifying match to enter a tournament part of a tournament?
yes,
It is.
yes.
Why wouldn't they call it part of a tournament?
Because, well, I don't know. Because, say, for instance, over here with the football, we have the the qualifying rounds, but they're still part of the tournament. But what they call it is they'll have the qualifying rounds, and then when it's the first round, they call it the first round proper. But it's still all part of the same tournament. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man. Like, I think, why don't you just call that preliminary tournament round
Mm.
instead of first round?
But the thing is it still part of the tournament? Well, it is, yeah, really,
I
because
don't
it's
think
still.
so.
Do you know?
Because you're not in the tournament. If you're supposed to get into the tournament, it's like you're at the door. You just have to walk in. But part of that
Mm.
walking in is beating your opponent, to enter the tournament. So I don't know. It's the chicken and
But
egg sort of deal.
you look at Emma Raducanu, who's a tennis player in England, and she won the US Open, and she went right through the qualifiers, right through it, and won the whole thing. And on her stats, it still states as though she had like 15 matches in the tournament, I think it was, or something like that, which includes the qualifying rounds, which is, I assume, takes part of the you know part of the tournament. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I
I think
just
there's
wasn't
different
sure.
parts to a tournament, but I believe that it's all part of the actual tournament.
What I'm getting at, though, is we just had the first round of AEW's doing their Owen Hart tournament, and that was the first event that the Hearts went to. It was really weird to look at. Still is when you really think about it.
Mm.
I've just been hearing about this tournament for months and months and months. And it's like, it's like, all right, what are we trying to do, guys? Like, what are we trying to milk? And this is this tournament, I guess, stem from what happened today, correct? In this particular pay per view that we're going to go over. It's
Hmm.
not a premium live event yet.
No.
Let's go into it. Kemper Arena, they're over in Kansas City, I believe. Kemper was an insurance company at the time. I think it still is an insurance company, but I don't think their they're like a mainstay company now, so that's why they lost the rights to Kemper. It was just a really weird time. There's one thing that we could mention. One important thing happened on Heat prior to that, and that was Vince McMahon in a no holds barred match against Midian.
Hmm.
Um, I had to look at that list 3 times to make sure I was reading that correctly. And that was a match that Shane McMahon put him in. And Midian wasn't naked.
He really wasn't. He really wasn't. Wasn't long after this before he became naked medium, wasn't it?
Yeah, correct, thankfully. But I think the main thing is that, you were supposed to have 2 referees in the main event. So that's why they had Shane McMahon say, you know what, Dad, you're going to go no holds barred against Midian, which is still weird to say.
Yeah, very weird. Well, we'll go to the first match on the card, my man. We've got Sean Stasiak. No, I will not call him anything else but Sean Stasiak. defeated Brian Christopher, who was with Scott Taylor.
Well, he was accompanied by the Pretty Mean Sisters, correct?
He was.
PMS. This is just attitude error, just throwing crap at walls and just making sure something sticks, right? I mean, Sean Stasiak actually is a accomplished chiropractor now.
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty smart too. I heard him in just one of those shoot interviews not too long ago, and I had no idea that he has a very close kinship with Zoe Stark in NXT.
Yeah.
Like he's family friends with her and her husband and stuff. So then I think she's actually I actually watch I enjoy watching her in NXT when she's around. So hopefully she gets better soon. And she's not teamed with Io Shirai. Anyway, let's go back to 1999.
Well,
What's your favorite memory about Sean Stasiak though?
I like the Planet Stasiak stuff.
It was funny.
Yeah, I'd say that was probably the one that I liked the most. If I had to pick one.
Yeah. He did good work in WCW too. The Planet thing was just kind of funny because it just showed how off the wall he is. And you know, he really isn't like that in life, you know?
No.
Although they
seems
say
like a cool guy.
Well, yeah, although they say chiropractors just go for less doctoring and just lazy doctors, right?
Yeah. Well, just in case anybody had, obviously have to do it for you guys, but his name is Meat. Just in case if anybody wants to. Yeah.
That's the sole reason why I kept talking about it, because I wanted Andy to say meat.
But
I'm sorry.
anyway,
Stasiak
gets the win. Yeah. Stasiak gets the win here. Brian Christopher was so underrated in the rings. One thing that I've got from this, mate, is like I watched back some of Brian Christopher stuff. He was really good, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. I mean, I'm not going to say he was like his father at that point, but I think he just had more of an understanding for the business, and God rest his soul too. Taken too young. I'm not going to go into what happened, but because obviously we don't have all the freaking details. But he definitely was good pairing, and like you said it a couple months ago. The fact that Rikishi didn't really put over Too Cool is kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
And he should have thanked them. And I totally agree with you. They did help elevate him. I don't care what they say.
No, they 100% did. I don't think Rikishi would have been Rikishi without them two.
Nope, not at all.
No. Well, Brian Christopher gets beat here by Meat.
Wait, hold on. If he won,
he would have beat his
He
Meat.
would have beat Meat. Next match is the Hardy Boys and Michael Hayes.
Right, and I loved Michael Hayes with the Hardy Boys. I'm not gonna lie, I really loved them with the Hardy Boys.
Yeah, well, it would make sense too. I mean, they all dressed alike. He was an unlockable character at this point in WrestleMania 2000 because he would have the same attire too, if I was correct.
He would. But I liked him. I thought that the pairing of Goldust and Blue Meanie was a good one as well. Kind of really weird characters mashed together, really good.
Blue Dust. Blue Dust.
Yeah.
Meanie's just such a fun personality for the business too. And it just, and think about it. I mean, going from ECW to WWE, it's weird because it's like, why would Vince want him here? That's what I didn't get. But thankfully we had him.
But you know what though? I think with Vince sometimes everybody goes on saying that Vince likes these big, muscular, large-in-life characters. But even if you go back to the early 80s and stuff, he always had a little bit of difference on the card. And that, that's the thing with him is you can see he's not soft. He knows there needs to be a bit of variety amongst the card. You can't just have Titan after Titan against each other.
Yeah, but it's not like it was just Tetna. It was Adrian.
Adonis.
Yes, Adrian Adonis, being as androgynous as he is. So, it was a different look. And it actually got over and brought heat, which is...
Yeah, because even look at the likes of Earthquake and, the Red Rooster wasn't exactly a big guy. And there was so many different people around them cards that were, exactly what they needed to be,
I have a question for you. Real quick. Are people afraid to get heat now? Besides MJF?
Yes.
Why is that?
because I believe that the heat MJF gets can be sometimes go a little bit close to the knuckle, which I like. I think it's great and stuff like that. But I think people are scared of saying the wrong thing because there's so many Karens out there nowadays where they might say something they think off the cuff is really funny. And next minute, oh God, look what he said, kill him, cancel him, you know. And that's the problem nowadays. It's not just wrestling. You know, don't forget these wrestlers have not got to just watch what the company does. There's so much stuff going on in the world that it only takes one movement or some stupid idiot to get a bit of traction on this. And next minute, you know, WWE ain't going to back you up. They'll just be like, bye.
And that's what, and I agree wholeheartedly. And I also think that another aspect to that is not being able to market themselves anywhere else, like Twitch, you know, or saying, hey, I might lose like 10 followers if I say this. Sorry, but look, my day job is my day job. I'm going to continue that, and that's what I'm going to abide by. What you do on the outside, yeah, it is an image of you, but you got to realize that that heat that you're getting is from your day job. So you should kind of, you know.
Yeah. And the thing is, guys, just anybody who is watching and stuff like that is like, you know, this is mine and Dale's podcast. We say what we want. If you don't like it, fuck you. If you do like it, you're one of us. But at the end of the day, you've got that button there that you can press, and we don't give a shit. We'll just say what we want. We will never go down racist routes or anything, kind of offend people, but we will always have our opinion. So, you know, if you don't like that type of thing, there's plenty of mainstream podcasts there that you can go and watch, like WrestleBuddy.
Yeah, those guys are cool, man. Yeah. Those guys are cool. Excellent. So anyway, so good segue into that. So anyway, the Hardy Boys win. Then we talked about it before, how we had Midian face off against Vince McMahon. And remember, heat meant something. It's not like how it was where it was just a totally separate show at that point, which I like that. Like Rampage was kind of doing that, but the content is terrible. But I just don't like, you had something that led into it, into heat, or heat going into a pay-per-view. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Trying out the new technology.
Hey, you'll see that we're on that next time. So you'll see that.
Oh, it's already up.
What's that? It's yeah, exactly. We're part of the Acolytes and the I'm the APA. And I think your test. I had to point out that you look great with blonde hair, man.
My son's got blonde hair, hasn't he? So
yeah, but like I gotta say, man, with the long blonde hair, you look like you could sing backup for Whitesnake, dude.
Look like Randy the Ramrod.
The Ram Jam, that's right. So going into the pay-per-view now, the pay-per-view officially starts, and let's say this, man. There he is.
That's our first match.
Yeah. No. It's not my first match. I had Kane and X-Pac.
No. Midian Bossman in a singles.
What? No. It was Midian.
Oh, sorry. No, it wasn't actually. Sorry, I do digress. That was on the Heat. Yeah, I do digress.
Yeah. That was the Heat match. So going into the pay-per-view, we would start out with Kane and X-Pac facing D'Lo Brown and Mark Henry. Oh, yeah. And we loved X-Pac, dude. Around this time, you just realize, and I think JR said it, he was 26 at this time. So this is 1999. So his debut was when he was like, 19 or 20 years old?
Yeah.
And
he was so good. So good. So good.
As Scott Hall would say, he said, look, if you can make it against Kid, you make it to me, you make it to Sean, you make it to Diesel. That's how you would actually progress. We talked about this with Shane Douglas last week. He's like, he can't have a good match against Kid, and then I try to have a match against him. He sucked. Why? But X-Pac just definitely did have a nice, I'm not going to say the best karate moves in the world. It was kind of more, hoorah! But I think it was more agility.
Well, it was relative to wrestling, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's what it's all about, mate. He needed turn around and have that what, but he couldn't follow through. So it works well, the little snappy and slippy kicks and whatnot.
D'Lo Brown was so over and so good at this point too. D'Lo, every move that he did, there was an emphasis on like he
Yeah,
had that struck down, and the guy lived himself. He's just like a flawless guy in the ring, wasn't he?
yeah, he
And the
was.
fact that they teamed him with still kind of a greenish Mark Henry, but it was hidden that the fact that D'Lo had such good wrestling ability. Henry actually looked good in this too, although I
Mhm.
thought his attire, he kind of looked like he was just going to the bakery to pick up something before church.
Yeah. He always,
uh,
where Henry always went through stages, didn't he, of looking really solid and then looking really fleshy. And it was always kind of back and forward with Mark.
yeah, yeah. And you also had Ivory in the corner here too, so there was a story right there in itself.
Mhm.
Um, Kane looked fantastic. You would have them both coming out separate, but it was just such a good team dynamic that it's that weird odd couple feel, and I just love watching their matches together. I mean, you knew what it was going to be. X Pac was going to get beat, hot tag the Kane. Kane would come in, dominate. It was just that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay. And then it would be a reverse weaker link type of deal at the end of the year when it's like you would have Kane and X Pac feuding against each other.
Yeah.
Just a cool match, man. It was a good match too. You know,
Oh, it was.
and folks, timeline wise, all I'm gonna say is this: WrestleMania 2000 for N64. You will know everything going on.
Oh, it's
It's
awesome.
synonymous,
Awesome game.
everything.
One of the best games ever made, I think. I still think it
Mhm.
holds up even the test of time now. Do you know what was so good with that is it was just solid. You could when you tried to make the wrestlers do something, they would do it.
Yep.
And the graphics weren't amazing, but they didn't try and overcomplicate the graphics either. They just made them solid.
No. I mean, everybody was all bubble armed, but that's all right. You needed to
Yeah,
do that back then. But
yeah.
it's the gameplay that was actually easier because Warzone was terrible.
Hmm.
Like those.
Nitro was shite.
Yeah, but
NWO Revenge was the one that started it off, wasn't it?
yeah, World Tour too, because you had that game engine that was
Mm.
created. And apparently Tony Khan's doing that. He's recreating a game engine too. $80 million in the hole right now,
Mm.
Andy, for that.
Yeah,
And
but I've heard that they're making it a really story based, which to be fair, straight away I'm looking going, I'm interested in it.
I'm
I'm
interested.
really interested in it.
I hope that they have a story base where they have the Andrade family order trying to take the Hardy family order for 9 months. They have to work on their own stories before I have a believable story in that video game. Sorry.
Hmm.
But I do think that that video game back then is just
Yeah,
everything that you can envision right now.
yeah, that's it,
Going
mate.
into the next match, let me ask you something. I know you don't like Bob Holly.
No,
Okay. Okay. Did you laugh when he cut when he cut a promo? Yeah, there you go. When he cut a promo there, did you laugh?
yeah, I did actually. I did. I did.
Because you're just like, it's so bad. Yeah, it's just like you're so bad. I don't know. Like watching him cut a promo. He's been in the industry for how long at this point, and he's not just
Mm,
Sparky Plug.
no, no. He was, and the thing is, Hardcore Holly was always a solid wrestler. It's just sometimes with him is, I don't know why he just wasn't my cup of tea, which is fine. It doesn't mean that he wasn't good. He just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, yeah. I think. Look, he did what he did because he went into the hardcore division after he bleached blonde his hair or bleached his hair, and then he cut his hair. I don't know about that sequence, but then all of a sudden people were like, oh man, this guy's got muscles. And then all of a sudden it was just like a completely different look, and he'd be introduced with Crash and everything like that, which was a great pairing too. But
Hmm.
he's facing Al Snow at this point. Al Snow is over, to say the least, correct?
Yeah. Oh, not half. Al Snow was so underrated.
Yep. He was fantastic. I love the fact that, just watching Al Snow come out there and do anything and the crowd would give him a pop, looking for head and everything like that. Just he was loved. He's still a loved character. Where's he training nowadays?
Al Snow.
Yeah.
He owns OVW.
Ah, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. He actually owns it.
Okay. That's good. I didn't know that. It's weird to think OVW, because you knew it was like a training facility, and now it's just like kind of its own thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Sure, but no, he's doing well there. He's doing well.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to carry on with the next match for a minute? Yeah.
Well, what was the next match, right?
So the next match we had on the card,
it was going to be.
Yeah, I'll leave that to you to explain to the guys for a second. If you want to explain that horrible match, I'm going to walk away.
Okay. All right. So basically, we get to the point where the crowd is really dismissive. All right. So what's going on here is there's a stop in the event. It's a serious tone. Thankfully, the network version actually cuts out everything, so you don't really end up seeing anything at all. The only mention that you see on this is in the beginning on the network, where it actually says Owen Hart in memoriam, and they actually disclose the fact that this whole thing ended up, the whole event got edited. So you're not really going to see anything as far as what happened, and thankfully so. You don't see any recaps. You don't hear any recaps from the announcers. The one notation that you do see is the fact that Jeff Jarrett cut a promo prior to that, and that was edited out too. Shockingly, by the way, the fact that was taken out, because I know Deborah was almost she was not in good headspace too. If you see footage of that, you can find the footage on YouTube. It's not good, and it's sad. And the fact that they have to go out there and do this type of match after this was not. It's a mixed tag match, folks, and I give credit for Val Venus actually going out there and still cutting a line, and I think Val Venus was just probably one of the best workers out there in the business at that point.
Do you know what was really sad? And I think it was. It might have been Jeff who said it on his My World podcast. Really good podcast, by the way, guys. Make sure you check it out. That he said that when he got through into the turnbuckle, he could feel the hole where Owen had hit. And he said, like, obviously the guys who wrestled after what happened to Owen, I think Road Dogg said it as well, is it's kind of they had to adjust what they were doing in the ring because some of the panels were broken in and dented in that one corner. Oh, imagine that, man.
No. I can't. That's why I still give credit to the Hearts for actually going to an event like they did the other day. For whatever reasons, I'm not going to go too into it again. But it's just that's bad, and I can understand. I understand why Vince said, no, we need to carry on with the show because it's a professional thing to do to give the crowd what they want.
Do you know what? I don't agree with that. I think that's a carny attitude. The show must go on, kind of carnival attitude. I don't agree professionally. It should have went on. It was a crime scene, as Jim Cornette said quite rightly. It should not. Nobody had any business going all over that. But at the same time, one thing I will say is Vince and the rest of the guys were probably in a lot of shock.
Yeah.
So, again, do I believe that it's probably a bit different for them? And if they could go back and change times, would they have gone on with the show at the time? Definitely not. No. You've got to look at it from a double-pronged point of view, haven't you?
Oh, I agree with you fully. Like I said, I think that Vince doesn't like to let people go home, without a full product. And he may also be thinking, well, how do I reschedule this? And that's secondary, dude. At that, like that's the last thing you got to look at.
Well, that's it. But as I say, when you're in shock, I'm sure you've been yourself. I know I have over the years where something's happened and I've just been in total shock or disbelief of what's going on and the way that I've actually.
You're not in the right. You're not in the right state of mind.
You
how
know,
can you make a critical decision at that point?
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. I haven't been able to kind of get myself together to, like when I know this is going to sound really thing, but when me nan passed away years ago, I was actually with her when she passed away, and while they were waiting for the funeral directors and coming or like that, my first thing was to start trying to hoover. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't a rational thought. It was just kind of, oh, yeah, I'll clean this up before they come in, you know what I mean? And, when you think back, you think, what was you doing? But at the time, you don't realize what you're doing because it's not a rational thought. You're kind of in shock and you just make a decision on the fly. And I think Vince McMahon, potentially, and probably some of the other guys have like, you know, the whole thing is the show must go on. Let's give the show. Let's do what we were here to do. And I kind of think that's probably why they've done it. I don't, as much as I feel like Vince was out of order for what he'd done, I can kind of understand it if I get into that psyche. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's like, how do you proceed from that? And like, how do you
Mm,
go up from that? And obviously, they rectify that. I'm sorry, not rectify, but maybe they try to make up for it the next
mm,
day by having a tribute show. Just weird. Just really weird. This
yeah,
next match, like the Val Venus and Nicole Bass, they team together and like how to keep a straight face on. Jeff looked distraught in the ring. You got
yeah,
to realize Jeff Jarrett that was his that was his brother, man. And
yeah,
like in the during that era, I mean, you would hear they would feud together, and then they would also be tag team partners.
yeah.
And think about what could have happened too if I was still around. And how many times have you and I gone into a pay per view and Ohm's on the pay per view, and we flip shit because we love
Yeah.
him.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
did he need a gimmick? No,
No.
sorry.
It
So
was,
I don't know.
and that's where I look at point the finger at Vince Russo because it was all about the gimmicks, wasn't it, and all about the things back then. And Owen was just a solid. Do you know what? Owen Hart was the Daniel Bryan of that era, but
Yep.
never got the push that he should have got.
No, I agree. I agree. Eh,
Doesn't need no. I mean, I know Bryan had the yes chance and stuff like that, but doesn't need a massive gimmick. Just a really great wrestler who can do it all.
And not only that, I think that obviously who had better storylines,
Yeah, yeah.
natural storylines. Come on,
Well, that's it.
you
Look at
remember when
Brett
we went to
versus Owen.
look, WrestleMania 10? That was
Yeah,
probably our favorite match. It's got to be top 3 that you and I have looked at, or maybe top 5 because I'm looking at
yeah.
a few. But in a nutshell, dude, that match. I mean, just his work was just impeccable.
Oh,
Anytime there's a match that we watch that's on, and we're coming into King of Ring season, so there might be a time or two where we watch him. Thankfully,
hmm
um, bar none, bro. Just awesome
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Except this was just sad. Anyway,
Okay,
who
just
wins this
before
one?
we move on from Owen, I don't, well, what's called it, Nicole Bass and Valpinus won this match, but yeah, that's a secondary. But just before, because I don't want to spend too much time on Owen because it wasn't the reason we watched this pay per view. It was the anniversary, you know. Of his passing, but we didn't go back and watch this for some morbid reason. It was just
No.
literally because we thought it was a good pay per view and it fitted in with the timeline, which is what we always try and stick to.
In a vacuum, yeah, in a vacuum, we're just going through the whole pay-per-view as
Yeah,
outside of this.
yeah,
So we're
but
gonna
one
go
thing I
into it.
did want to bring up is the Owen Hart tournament. Do you like the idea? Do you think it's right? Do you think it's wrong? I mean, I like Martha's idea. She's made money for the foundation, which she's quite right entitled to, because I've read up on that foundation and some of the work that foundation does is awesome. Really is. And bravo to her because she could have kept that money for herself, sat in a big house and done nothing with her life, but she's actually gone out and done something and kept Owen's memory very, very well. And, I've got nothing but respect for her for doing that. AEW stuff, though, do you agree, not agree?
Not when they do spots that they did the other day.
No.
I'm not going to get into it.
Mm.
Professionalism, and Tony has to stop letting these people run the asylum.
Mm.
And also makes the business look terrible when you have Jeff Hardy laying and then waiting to catch Darby Allin from how tall? That's the tallest leap that anybody's done in that place. Maybe Cody Rhodes' backflip or moonsault
Yeah.
onto Wardlow. That's it. I'm trying to think of anything else where somebody dove that far. And look who's in attendance. Your professionalism shot. I'm sorry. Tony
Yeah.
has to really stop and take a look at some of these guys and just grab them and say, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, you've got Martha Hart in attendance who's fucking lost her husband through falling from a big height and you decide to do a big hot spot. Fucking stupid, mate. Totally get you, and I'm not agreeing with it at all. But I feel really sad because I feel like WWE for one need to sort their shit out. The amount of money they have and the amount of revenue and everything else that they have, they need a physical Hall of Fame. They should have had one by years for now. Instead of just focusing on the money that it generates, actually give the fans a physical Hall of Fame. Because I'm quite in agreement with Martha. There is no physical Hall of Fame. It's just a money making scheme. There's no plaques. There's no places. There's no things. It needs to happen, and hopefully this greatest treasures thing that they're doing to try and get something up and running will coincide with getting a physical Hall of Fame. Because that makes me sad that Owen Hart isn't in the Hall of Fame where he should be.
That was
Because
one of the most right. It was one of the most doctored shows. I hope it does happen because of that. You're right. I
yeah,
enjoyed that show because I thought it was funny. Just the fact that they didn't let everybody know that Brutus Beefcake, went into a parasailer while he was high on cocaine. But anyway, like you're right. That should be the prerequisite for actually like
yeah,
having a Hall of Fame. I
yeah.
agree with that, man.
Yeah, and maybe if that's the case, Martha might change her mind and actually let him go into the Hall of Fame because then she'll realise, well, it's for the fans, not for WWE. Do you know what I mean? But this shit with AEW, I'm not buying it. You know what I mean? It's like, what right has Tony Khan or any of them got to do this tournament, to do the thing, apart from, and also what benefit is Tony Khan given by doing the Owen Hart Memorial Cup? What's it benefiting Martha? It's giving her maybe a little bit of wrestling side of it, which may be what she's always wanted. But again, AEW are the one coining it in off it, aren't they?
Well, they had the wrestling aspect when you had Dax Hardwood and Cash Wheeler go out there. And then Adam
Mm,
Cole had his best match in the AEW. I said it, his best match in AEW against Dax.
mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me ask you something. Keep the wrestling there. Don't have guys jumping off ladders looking like idiots. Just these death defying stunts. Tony Khan, you have to stop letting these idiots do what they're doing. And that's
Yeah.
not just for this match. Anyway,
No.
back to
Right.
1999.
Okay, so we move on to Billy Gunn versus Road Dogg, or badass Billy Gunn versus Road Dogg. This is before the Mr. Ass character. Good solid match. Billy comes out on top. They tried quite a few times to push Billy, didn't they? But for some whatever reason, it just never seemed to stick.
It's because he looks in the best shape in the world right now, doesn't he?
Mm,
Yeah, Billy Gunn's awesome. I will say this. Usually, when they do these recap videos in the beginning of a match, it kind of clarifies things. This
mm,
one, it didn't.
no.
It just showed me how much they were partners, and I'm like,
Mm,
okay, they were good friends.
yeah.
Like, why did they split like that? It was just weird.
But they were trying to push Billy, weren't they? But they tried to do it a couple of times with Billy, Mr. Ass, and whatnot. You know, we even gave him a brilliant theme tune, which I really liked. Do you know what I mean? M&S, man. Boss. But why do you think he never made it as a single star?
I don't. I don't think they ever thought of him as just the
I
guy
believe
to
they
get
did
out
though.
there.
When they tried the Mr. Arse stuff and they had the Arseman song and everything else, and he put the Intercontinental strap on him for a bit, didn't he? I think they thought of him like that, but for whatever reason, he never took off as a single star. Every time they tried it, it just didn't work. Rockabye Billy, you know, it was always something that they tried, but it just never seemed to work. And he always seemed to find himself back in a tag team because, you know, after all the Mr. R stuff and that, it was Billy and Chuck, and that wasn't it, Joe.
Oh, that's a blemish that hopefully they could forget about too. And you're just wondering where that was going. And it actually was probably the biggest dud out there too. The
Yeah.
the way that fizzled was just awful. Um, I think that they gave him the mic. He said what he said. He meant what he said. And then just all of a sudden, he just always just got lumped in. And like as a timeline, I'm trying to think of his feuds. They won King of the Ring. The guy had plenty of litmus tests too.
Mm,
Like we've said, the Intercontinental title is something to set up to see if you could have the run with, the WWF or WWE title.
mm,
And I guess they were just like, nah, it's not going to work.
yeah.
But look at the look at the roster at that point, though. Look at the roster at that point. We're going to go into it. But
Yeah.
you mean to tell me, like, you couldn't find anybody else there?
No. Well, as it goes up, this card just gets better and better, doesn't it? Now as it goes through the thingies. But as you said, Billy Gunn defeated Road Dogg. This was
Okay,
where
match.
his push was not a bad match. The two of them really solid performers, so you're never going to get a bad match here. But this was the start for Billy Gunn to try and get him up there. But as I say, it just never worked out again. And before we know it, he slips back into the tag team division. Okay, next match.
Oh boy, there we are. Look at you with your blonde hair, man. You look great.
I look like Michael Hayes with glasses.
You do. You look like a free bird. Actually, you know what, Andy, you should get paid for your services. So you should be like a nickel bird or something like that.
I know, I'm telling you. But this match just shows you what the level of talent is like at this time, as the fact that they've got to throw all these guys in a 6-man tag team match.
8-man.
Sorry, 8-man. I do apologize.
There's times tables. What do you guys, with the metric system over there is working wonders, isn't it?
So we've got Big Show, Ken Shamrock, Mankind, and Test versus the Corporate Ministry, Big Boss Man, Bradshaw, Varuk, and Viscera. Big Show, starting to get somewhere here, isn't he? Looks well, working well.
We got to just point one thing out. The theme songs with the steam whistles are fantastic, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Who remembers this faction called the Union, folks? Short-lived, but glorious. Union comes out. You have imposing foes such as Mick Foley, Mankind. Major, I was just going to call him Tall Edge. Test, Ken Shamrock, Big Show. It's a huge group right there, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, those are just big dudes at that point. Yeah. And then you go into the opposing side, which was the Corporate Ministry with one of the worst theme songs ever. I'll tell you, man, Viscera goes up one spot. One of my favorite spots in this match is Viscera getting body slammed full-fledged by Big Show.
Yeah.
Holy Lord. Like, he posted up. It was the one time I've ever seen Viscera or Mabel actually work with somebody well.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Big Show, as I said before, is starting to look the part here. Because I thought when he first came in, he was looking fleshy. He couldn't work very well. Where by 99, he's really starting to get where he should be.
Yeah. 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 It's funny, too, because during these, like, tag matches, I'm pretty sure that their health bar is all the way down to, like, halfway. That's why you'd have Tess get eliminated soon, and also Farouk get shortly eliminated afterwards. You have, by the way, at this point, our boy JBL, we haven't spoken his name in a while. We have Bradshaw actually perfecting the clothesline clothesline from hell. So it's almost like it came from this. I'm just glad that we don't have the APA always pounding ass shirt up yet. What'd you think of the match in general? Ken Shamrock still flipping out at people?
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of 8-man tags normally. I'm more a fan of 6-man tags. That's why when I heard AW doing the trios, I was kind of like, look, it's not my cup of tea. I like this match though. It looks that way. Yeah.
Okay. All right. They gotta give it to the Gun Club.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these type of matches, but I enjoyed this one, and I really did. And it's not that it's just that genre I don't really like. But as I said, this one I really did like, and it was really solid match.
Style. Yeah, it was a nice elimination style match too. But on the flip side, we're not marks here, but watching Backlash last week and that 6-man tag, that was fun. That was a good match, and
but this one's good the way it's whittles down. I mean, it's just a Survivor Series match, isn't it? It's a classic Survivor Series match.
Yeah, Boss Man though. Boss Man was really out there for a while too.
Yeah, but if you see even here, it does say on the thing here as well, Survivor rules. So they knew what they were doing. Good on them. Doesn't have to be just that time of year. Good on them. Not mad at that.
Yeah, it's kind of a grudge match though in itself. Like, hey, our best man win. I like that. And who pulls out the end? And we all forget, by the way, there's a lot of Mick Foley signs out there. Foley had a lot of signs out there.
Oh, Foley was on fire at this time.
Yeah, come on.
He really
pulls out the sock, and you just realize, like, later on in the year, shit's gonna happen, man. You know, it
That's
just
it.
yeah, it was just
Well,
fun.
let's move on to two of the next big shooting stars that are on the way up. The Rock versus Triple H. These two guys back then, I loved their matches. I really did. You know, that ladder match they had at SummerSlam, one of the best I've ever watched.
Yep. There's a reason why when you'd get to WrestleMania 2000 in the video game, these guys would block everything right away. They were very hard when you're facing the computer. With Rock's wearing a cast in this, you actually see on the pay-per-view things happen, you know, in interviews happening and, you know, interrupts Kevin Kelly. Doesn't call him a hermaphrodite yet, but it's still worth it. At the same token, though, it's great because China steps in and, you know, he Rocks talks smack to her. This is after the chin was done on China anyway. And then you'd have Triple H come out, you know, and start beating up the Rock. Then Foley comes out because remember they're friends at this point too. And Foley says, "Don't hit the Rock," or something like that. It was just so funny.
I just love the whole dynamic between these two. It was just so good, so good.
And it carried on, yeah. And it's just you didn't need that split, you know. It was just you had two different directions here. The match itself, awesome. Like awesome storytelling in there. You know?
Yeah. And the thing is, I watched this one back, and I'll admit I don't remember watching it from the first time round because I've seen these two go against each other so many times. I mean, when it come on, I was thinking to myself, right, okay, it's not long since I've watched Nation of Domination, Rock versus DX Triple H, so let's see them as each other now and see what they can do as a normal people rather than having the factions and all the rest of it that goes with it. It's just boss.
Yeah,
just
it's brilliant. Like full form at this point. It's like you got to where you are.
They've made enough of a star where they don't need the factions behind them to tell the story.
Yep. Yeah, it's just super cool, man. I love it. I think that the aspect of this match is just like it's so throwback, but this is the guys that like we know, and these are the established people at this point where it's like, okay, this is who they would become and this is who they stay and this is what we remember. Like, yeah, you could look at Triple H as like the evolution guy and stuff, and then the Reign of Terror, but he's not far off from where he was in this match to that.
No,
like it's the same guy, you know, the DX guy. By the way, this was his best theme.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, you know, the Motorhead still awesome, but this was bar none great.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our main event. Then we've got
The Rock wins. By the way, you had a lot.
He does.
The Rock wins by DQ, and it's going back and forth. By the way, great chair shots here. There's a reason why they don't hit him in the head. Triple H sold a good chair shot, man.
Yeah,
he went down like that, and I was just like, "Whoa!" I don't remember seeing that type of chair shot. And you said before, the last time we watched, I mean, the last time I watched this pay-per-view was the first time I watched it, and
same.
That's why this is weird. And we're gonna go one step further. By the way, a cat is blocking me. What's up? Oh, there we go. Last match here. This was cool. Shane McMahon comes out first. He's the special guest referee.
Yep.
Vince McMahon was carried away in an ambulance prior to that. So Pat Patterson comes out, you know, and then he gets.
I love Pat.
Yeah, he gets the cat. He gets the crap kicked out of him for being there. So then, who comes out? You have the Ministry. Okay. The Ministry of Darkness Undertaker that was just fresh off of trying to offer up Stephanie McMahon, correct?
Yeah. Awful.
Yeah.
I never liked the Ministry, I'll be honest. Did not like the Ministry at all.
But did you understand what they were going with, though? Yeah. I like that aspect.
Yeah.
You know, I like what was going on with that. I do believe, though, that the corporation ministry just sucked. I remember that was the first episode of SmackDown too when they were introduced, and first SmackDown episode ever. I think it was on a Tuesday at that point, and it was. I was just like, why are we just mixing these people in together? It just didn't make any sense. Undertaker had that awesome theme where he came out and was doing the chanting and stuff like that, and you just were like, all right, he's so convincing. Paul Bear, so convincing, and I got to give credit where credit's due. One other place, the announcers at this point were almost like back to them old selves.
Yeah.
What was going on through the night. So what did you think of this match? Because I will say this, what a pop for Austin.
Yeah, Austin just got, at this point he was just red hot, wasn't he? It just shows you even years after the whole original Austin push, he's still red hot. Everyone still loves him. Wasn't a big fan of the ministry, never was. The corporate ministry, not even anything worse than that. But it wasn't too bad. I liked the match. I thought he put a really solid match on, considering what had gone on before them shows. They're just absolutely consummate professionals. And they just carried on with it. And I did like the ending where Vince gets pushed into Austin, and then Shane McMahon, the little scurrying rat, to come over, dead fast count, away you go, So I enjoyed it. It was a good match, solid match. As far as the B+ pay-per-view goes, it was spot on.
Yeah, I will say, take everything into account here with what was happening throughout the night. Match per match, fairly good. Fairly good. You have to take that away. You have to have it as two different events, though. You have to have it as an event where that happened, and then you just say, here's some matches that are thrown together. Just, I'm not suggesting that people watch, because it is still weird. And you do hear a carryover, because there's parts where Jerry Lawler is trying to speak, and that he's trying to get something out of Ross, and Ross is just gone. That carries over in a couple matches after the tragedy.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, so I don't know. What are you grading this? Because I'm not sure what to grade this, man.
Do you know what, man? Out of respect, I'm not going to grade it at all.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not going to grade it, man. But all I'll say is it was a really solid pay-per-view for what the wrestling was in it. And I think, apart from that, I think we'll wrap up from there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think so. Okay. Yeah, definitely. Listen,
guys,
we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys staying and watching with us. And you know what? Give this a pay-per-view a little bit of a listen to or watch. It ain't bad. You could select a few matches. Overall, though, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful rest of the weekend and a great week ahead. And we'll catch you next week with another episode here, my friends.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we will see you next week. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, obviously we've had new people popping in and out. Please do subscribe to the channel. It helps us out, and we like having you all here. And also leave some in the comments, some pay-per-views you wouldn't mind watching us watch. And when we get down to the timeline of it, we'll make sure we do it. But from me and Dale, until next week, guys, take care.
There we go. Touching.